All right. Hey, everybody out there in Twitch land. It's Gamer Seuss time again with Game Time with Doc and Lurch. We're just a couple minutes late because I was having an internet issue. For some reason, my Ethernet adapter was not working properly and I had to reinstall it. But we're back, we're up, we're running, everything's good. I'd rather be on Ethernet than Wi-Fi because we get a lot less lag, especially when it comes to viewing Lurch's cam through my system, because I host everything. So it's always better to be on Ethernet. So it's worth a couple of minutes just to try to get that fixed. We're going to do a real quick sound check, and then I'll open up the chat monitor and we'll get started. So check 1 2, check 1 2, check 1 2, check 1 2.
Zaboomafoo. Zaboomafoo. Zaboomafoo.
Yep. Okay. Sounds good to me. I can hear us both pretty clearly. Let's go ahead and open up the chat window so we can see what's going on with chat. And drag that over here so that I can make it big and right here in front of me where you can see it better. So zoom it a couple of times. Zoom. Okay, and then, all right, we're back. We're here every Tuesday now. We almost didn't have a show today between me being in the hospital for the last week with surgery, and then this morning, Lurch had to go for a personal reason and was it wasn't for him, it was for somebody else, but he was the supporting other. We're not going to go into the details there because it's none of anybody's business but theirs. But Lurch almost didn't make it either. So it's just one of those things.
I was getting a little worried there for a minute.
Yeah, he just kind of got back, and so did I. I've only been back to the house for like an hour. And I don't think he's been back much less than that, but
Yeah. I grabbed some McDonald's drive-through on the way home. I had plans to cook some dinner tonight, but instead I just had to
you suffered through McDonald's? Oh man, my sympathies.
I just scooped them up real quick. You know, it's not my favorite meal, but they're pretty good in a pinch. You know.
I don't know about that. I wouldn't say that. I have to be in a very weird, odd mood to even go to McDonald's. But we went to Buckingham's. I had a burnt-in salad, so I had good food.
God.
Yeah, right? Meat.
I actually, it's funny because it was just a couple of days ago. I think Saturday. I got Buckingham's and I got burnt ends. I didn't get the sandwich. I just got
I got the salad.
Ends, half pound.
I got the salad, burnt-in salad. I love their burnt-ins. Their burnt ends are great. Yeah, it's just a salad with burnt ends sprinkled over the top.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Make it.
Half a pound of burnt ends and then some fries and.
Yeah, you got the burnt end meal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I contemplated. I had a burnt end salad and some potato salad on the side. Allison had
cheesy corn. They have that cheesy corn that's pretty good.
Yeah, Allison had ribs, beans, and potato salad, and the kid had ribs, and I don't remember what his sides were. Not like it matters. He had the ribs. He had the ribs combo meal, so he had ribs plus pulled pork, and then a couple of sides.
Well, I basically I had enough time to get home, eat my McDonald's,
and rush in here and get ready to start.
I got this ready. And I had about 10 minutes to spare. In between finishing eating and then starting the setup, I had about 10 minutes to just kind of like
decompress
and decompress in the coldest room in the house. My bedroom's the coldest room, so I went in there and just decompressed for about 10 minutes.
Hey, sometimes you got to do it, especially in this heat.
And then I started getting my setup so we could start the stream.
All right, well, without further delay, for those who may not know, although anybody who watches the show is typically one of our followers who goes in or finds it on YouTube, and I do send these over to YouTube usually within a week of being done, so you'll find them under the Game Time playlist under the Gamer Seuss YouTube channel. We do this every Tuesday from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., and we pretty much cover anything and everything in the nerdosphere, as we like to call it. But we originally got together as part of Eclectic Endeavors, the people that bring you the Gaming Arts Media Entertainment Expo, the Picnic at the End of the Universe, Game Time at Holdfast Brewing Company, and those kind of events. So that's what got us together originally. And our previous co-host, Greg Pullman, who still hosts Game Time at Holdfast Brewing Company, which is a live event every third Wednesday of the month over at Holdfast, where you can go in and play board games. So we're part of that group. We're those guys. We're the ones that help put on one of their big nerd conventions, and the last one will be this year, October 14th, 15th, and 16th at the Springfield Expo Center. Come by, say hi, check out Lurch's video game setup. You will be amazed. Yeah. I mean, he'll have some loaner consoles as well. It won't all be his, just 99.9% of it. I'm not really exaggerating much, because he has a lot of consoles, including retros, and he has a lot of TVs. If you've ever been to his house, it's like a home arcade, man. I'm telling you.
If I've got the count right, I'm up to 48 game consoles right now.
Yeah, 48 game consoles for one human being. And he's still looking for more. Yeah. We would say he's obsessed, but then that would be insulting to obsessive people, because they're just not as dedicated. No. Anyway, today's show, if you might remember from last week, is going to be focused on two main topics. In the beginning of the show, me and Lurch are going to cover all the various stuff that happened at San Diego Comic-Con. Neither one of us got to go. Unfortunately, San Diego is a little bit out of our travel range right now. I mean, as much as we both would have loved to have been there, we didn't make it. So, and I've been there twice, and it is an amazing experience.
When I was scouring the web, I found and watched the leaked footage, because they put out, they showed a couple of trailers at San Diego Comic-Con for Marvel that has not been released to the public, so I had to find on Reddit.
Oh, a lot of them got officially released today, though. Yesterday and today they had some more stuff released.
The last I looked was about 11 p.m. last night. So I've been busy today to look.
This morning I watched some new stuff. But Comic-Con is an amazing thing. For those who might remember, the last live Comic-Con was in 2019, right before COVID hit. And that's when Kevin Feige rolled out the end of Phase 3 build up into Phase 4, and all the stuff culminating with Endgame, and they started talking about, they had just acquired Fox, so we knew that they were going to get the X-Men, and we knew they were going to get Fantastic Four, but they hadn't actually fully announced those projects yet. But we knew that they were coming down the road, but they had announced a whole slew of stuff, and most of it has come to pass. In fact, there's only a tiny bit of stuff that hasn't happened that was announced in 2019. We're about to get She-Hulk Attorney at Law, which is one of the last things that we were supposed to get as far as things. So really the only ones we're missing now from the Netflix series that they announced back then is Armor Wars. And I think that's it, because everything else is...
Also, Werewolf by Night. We don't have any...
Werewolf by Night, and we've got nothing new right now about that, but Werewolf by Night was not announced in 2019. I'm just talking about all the stuff that was predicted in 2019. Almost all the Disney Plus stuff is either happened or is just about to happen, because She-Hulk, I think, is the last project that they mentioned back then that is about to happen. All the movies pretty much for Marvel have happened or been delayed slightly. Like, for instance, they mentioned Fantastic Four, but we still don't... We now know that Fantastic Four is going to be in Phase 6. Or no, it'll be in the Phase 5. It'll be part of the Phase 5, Phase 6 transfer. Because the actual 3 movies they listed for Phase 6 were Fantastic Four and 2 Avengers movies. And that's in 2025.
Yeah.
So Fantastic Four is going out a little bit further than we originally expected.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So
and we do not.
we might
Go
have
ahead.
to go in a little bit of a pattern so we can try to like keep straight what's going on.
We also
There's a lot.
They also have no official word on what they're now calling the mutants is going to be the first X-Men type of movie. Is so far is kind of tentatively called the mutants, but we have no official word on when it's going to come out. And they might even wait for it to be the next phase after the multiverse saga. So we might be waiting on the mutants a little bit longer. All we know is they've officially joined the MCU because Miss Marvel is a mutant. But that's all we know so far.
Miss Marvel's a mutant, and traditionally speaking, Namor is a mutant.
Right, but Namor is also an Atlantean, so he's both a mutant and another race. Yeah. So we're not sure if they're going to even bring up the fact that he's a mutant in the scheme of things right away.
Like, I know in the comic book world, he's considered to be Marvel's first mutant.
Yeah, he was one of the first ones revealed as a mutant.
Yeah. And so, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that. So I guess we should try to try to help keep things kind of straight. I pulled up on my screen anyway, like some of the upcoming announcements in like chronological order of when they happen, and I think that might be an easy way to try to keep our heads straight.
Yeah, and there are quite a few things now going from now. The next big release is of course Quantumania for as far as movies.
I was gonna say before we get into the movies, we'll do chronological order.
Then I Am Groot is next. Well, I Am Groot is before She-Hulk.
Yeah.
7 days before, but it's shorts. It's only a bunch of shorts, so it's considered kind of a special. So it's kind of doesn't quite fit in any one category real well, and that's I Am Groot. Then we have She-Hulk, Attorney at Law.
We got a trailer for.
Oh my God!
We got a trailer for. Both of them. We got a trailer for I Am Groot. It looks hilarious. We had like these tiny little blue dudes
that end up worshiping Groot. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like the size of a drop of water, and at first they see Groot, and he's like speaks to them, and he's it's baby Groot, and he's like I am Groot, and like his speaking is like terrifying them with like the wind from his breath or whatever. Because
he's like Godzilla sized to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then they pull out a bunch of guns and they start shooting at baby Groot. And then he like gets scared and like drops to the ground and like curled up as a ball, and then
he molts a leaf, and they like it gives bounty, and they all just start harvesting that leaf. And it's like, oh, Groot is so amazing, yay!
Yeah, they start eating the leaves. There's one that looks like an old grandma of this little blue thing, is like a red scarf and a basket, just eating leaves, and they're celebrating him.
So yeah, I Am Groot looks to be charming and hilarious in equal measure, and so that's going to be great. We're supposed to get some young Rocket in part of that too. So we're going to get some Bradley Cooper in that. It's already been leaked that Bradley Cooper will be in the I Am Groot shorts as Rocket. So we will get some Rocket to go with our Vin Diesel. So I'm happy about that. Then She-Hulk trailer dropped, and oh my God, is it a great trailer. First off, it starts with a montage of She-Hulk training under Hulk. Bruce is training her in all kinds of things, and she's like excelling, like beating him at a lot of the stuff and shit. He's like, "What is this? Am I jealous?" Because of course, historically, even though the Hulk is one of the strongest characters in the Marvel Universe, the few times that he shows up in the comics with his cousin, She-Hulk is more controlled, so she seems to be able to put out more strength in the controlled version. It's only when Hulk goes Hulk and has like uncontrollable rage that he outstrengths her. But under the controlled version, like the Mr. Fix-It / Professor Hulk, Jennifer Walters is actually stronger. It's only when he goes freaking Berserker Hulk, Warworld Hulk, that he gets like unbelievably strong. Yeah. Like punch the Earth out of orbit kind of strong. And
it looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun. They talk in the trailer about how the law firm is starting up a superhero or a super villain hero, whatever, super
division.
They want her to be the face of that division. There's a part where she's in the courtroom, and I think it's Titania breaks into the room, and
she's like, "Time to do your stuff. Time to do your thing." He's like, "I like this outfit."
Yeah, and she takes off her shoes and hands them over to
her assistant.
Yeah, her assistant before she turns into Hulkish form.
But she's like, "I like this thing." And there's a part during the training when Bruce is like, "Who's your best friend?" And she starts naming something. He's like, "Wrong. Spandex. Spandex is your best friend."
Yeah, he's stretching out some spandex shorts.
Then he's like, "You gotta show balance," and he does this neat handstand balance thing, touching his feet together. And she's like, "Oh, okay." Puts a one-hand plant and does this intricate, like, flip around, wrap around herself thing, and it comes together in this weird Zen pose. You're like, okay, she's got this. Because she's much better at balance than Bruce is.
And the CG on this looked a lot better than the first trailer that we saw a few weeks back.
It's so smooth. I mean, the previous trailers were very rough. And then at the end of the trailer, you get the big reveal, because we'd heard rumors that Charlie Cox was going to be in there, but we didn't know if he was going to be in as Daredevil or as Charlie Cox the lawyer. But at the last scene of the trailer, as Matt Murdock the lawyer, right? The last scene of the trailer, we don't see the head, but we see 90% of the costume with the old red and yellow color scheme, the less popular color scheme, but one of the original Daredevil ones. Looks like Daredevil in that old costume with two billy clubs. And really, there aren't many street-level heroes that use two billy clubs and flip around like that. So we're pretty sure that's Charlie Cox.
Oh, yeah. That's
and so we get a Daredevil reveal. We see Abomination. We see Wong. We see Titania.
Right,
Wong shows up.
Wong shows up and is talking to She-Hulk about the importance
of what she's doing, and he's like, and she's like, "I do things by the book." He says, "Book of Ashanti." She says, "No, the big book of American law." Oh. and it's
where Bruce, Hulk says to her, "Like it or not, you're a superhero now." It looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun. They described it as Marvel's first 30-minute comedy series.
Yeah, and it's going to have a lot of comedy. They had a couple other kind of super-y kind of cameos. We're supposed to get like different villains every episode. We had at least one judge turn into like an extraplanar being of some kind. It looked like an elf. She looked like an elf or something.
Like an elven sorceress, didn't she?
Yeah, something like that. So I'm not sure who she's supposed to be. We got glimpses of characters that may be the Wrecking Crew. I know a couple of other presenters have pointed out that they're probably the Wrecking Crew. So we've got lots of different villains. We're going to basically have a different villain or hero being represented every episode. And what's great about She-Hulk as compared to some of the other Disney Plus series is we get 10 episodes. So it is 10 this time. I mean, they're only half hour long, but we get 10 of them. So that means we get to showcase anywhere from like 8 to 10 villains. Or 8 to 10 other augmented people. Be they villains or heroes or kind of in between, like vigilantes.
Yeah.
But, and lots of Jennifer Walters and lots of Bruce Banner. So that's going to be good. But we could also get, for instance, we could get General Ross. We could get, other people that are ancillary figures to She-Hulk. Because, I mean, a lot of people don't remember, but She-Hulk was also an alternate Fantastic Four member. Because there was a period of time when she took either at one point she was Johnny Storm's replacement, and another point she was Ben Grimm's replacement. So there's been times in the timeline for the Fantastic Four when Jennifer Walters was the fourth member.
Who hasn't been a member of the Fantastic Four by now? I'm pretty sure Dr. Doom was the leader for a while.
Well, Fantastic Four hasn't had as many member changes as like the Avengers. Fantastic Four has always been Reed Richards and Sue Storm, and then it's the other two slots that have rotated a little bit.
Well,
Ben Grimm, Human Torch. There's been a Robbie the Robot kind of guy.
Anyway,
and
it doesn't matter. I mean, there's been plenty more. I mean, there's been times without the two of them as well, or I think there's like Human Torch was the only of the originals. Anyway, so it looks like this is gonna be a fun show. I think let's move on to our next one. What was the next one? I know we're supposed to have a Halloween show, which they were saying was.
Yeah, I was saying, Werewolf by Night was not announced. We're assuming that because it's a special, it didn't fit into the timeline as much as other shows. But that we're also assuming that in September at D23 is when we'll hear about it, and it'll still be our Halloween special. And then after the Halloween special, we get Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special.
Well, before that, we've got Wakanda Forever.
Right, Wakanda Forever comes out first.
Yeah, Wakanda Forever comes out November 11th, and the trailer for that looked amazing. I think it was the closing
it's sick.
Of the panel.
Yeah, it was the kind of the feature of the panel, I think, in a lot of ways. It was the showcase piece, and it looks sick. It's great. You're going to get glimpses of Namor. You're going to get to see kind of a tribute to the original Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman, because there's a little bit of a tribute to him, which is what I thought was great. You get to see the technology of the Wakandans, which of course the vibranium-based technology of theirs is out of this world. You get to see Shuri. You get to see Atlanteans.
So yeah, the Wakandans are seemingly at war with Namor and the Atlanteans. We see glimpses of, we see a shot of Namor seemingly being born underwater to what seems to be a human mother, because she's just barely she's just barely under the water, near the coast.
Right.
And then we see him as a little kid, facing a burning building with some Atlanteans, and then him coming out of the water as an adult.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, Namor is the analog to Aquaman, but he's always been presented as more cool than Aquaman. I mean, Aquaman could talk to fish. Namor could do so much more. He could fly. He was a lot stronger. He had a few other things going for him.
So Namor is there for the Atlanteans. They're using Aztec culture,
mythology,
as their kind of their base for the designs for these. So he's got kind of a Quetzalcoatl looking
Quetzalcoatl,
outfit.
Quetzalcoatl, the plumed serpent, yes,
very
very much so, yeah. Oh, Wakanda Forever looks amazing, and it looks like that they're going to wait on the Wakanda Amazon Plus series until after Wakanda Forever comes out before we can see anything more. So we don't expect to hear anything more about that until at least D23, if not later. Because that's one of the things that was previously announced but not really mentioned at Comic-Con.
T'Challa's mother gives this powerful speech in the trailer. We
about
only
it, she's
bits of it about how she's I'm the queen of the most powerful nation in the world, and my entire family is gone. Have I not given everything?
Have I not suffered enough? Yeah.
Something like
She does that
yeah.
total
It was
mom
powerful.
who's lost her kids thing. Although Shiri is still around, so I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe it's because Shiri has gone to America to do work or something, so she's lost her in the fact that she's not home in the bosom of the culture anymore. Or maybe Shiri dies, although I doubt they would kill Shiri off this quickly.
Yeah, but we see Wakanda itself flooding even the throne room, which is like on a mountain or something, or way
Yeah,
on a
we're
mountain.
talking massive
See water
waves. Yeah,
flooding it, and the fire on top of the water. It gets kind of wild. So
it gets sick, man. It's sick.
And we see a glimpse of someone in a Black Panther costume at the very tail end of the trailer, but we don't know who's in the costume. That has not been revealed yet. So, gosh, there's just so much. There's so much, and it's just so beautifully done with the music going with it. Everyone needs to watch this. I've watched it like 3 or 4 times. It looks like a beautiful movie. We kind of get after that is then the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, which they didn't show anything about that at the San Diego Comic Con that I found.
I'm putting up
Sorry.
the timeline image.
Yeah, and then we've got What If Season 3, or I'm sorry, What If Season 2, happening in early 2023. Then Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania coming out on February 17th.
Which is the official start of Phase 5.
Yes.
Because I've got Phase 5 up on the screen now.
Right,
and
cool.
Quantumania is the first official start of Phase 5, and that's what kicks everything off. So Wakanda Forever is officially the end of Phase 4.
Yeah.
So we're going right into Phase 5 with Quantumania. That's followed by Secret Invasion.
I was going to say Quantumania, they showed a trailer of Quantumania to the attendees at Comic-Con.
And that one hasn't dropped on YouTube yet.
Yeah. So that one, I went on Reddit and I found a leaked copy of it where it was shot with a cell phone at a really terrible angle and bad audio, and it kept like shifting, so I didn't see very well. But I got to see some of it.
Expected to drop within the next week, an official copy, because
like some of the things we got in there, we've got King the Conqueror, who there's a part where like Ant-Man is talking to him, seemingly like there's some dialogue, and Ant-Man's like, "I don't know who you are, but you messed up. I'm an Avenger," and King's like, "An Avenger? Have I killed you before?"
Yeah, it's going to be sick. Of course, we're going to get some Bill Murray in there.
Yeah, Bill Murray's in it. Cosmo's going to be in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, Cosmo the Wonder Dog is in Guardians of the Galaxy.
MODOK is going to be in this?
MODOK is one of the villains, yeah. And MODOK is supposed to be played by the same person who played Yellow Jacket.
Right.
So, we don't know if it's supposed to be like an iteration of the same character or just the same actor playing him. But
my thinking is the way he seemingly perished in the original Ant-Man was he got shrunk down into the quantum realm.
Right, so he could have evolved into MODOK. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a type of way to survive in the quantum realm was to turn himself into MODOK, which is going to be really interesting because MODOK is one of the most confusing characters in the Marvel universe. So
yeah. So and they say that this movie is going to primarily be in the quantum zone. Like the majority of the movie will be in the quantum zone. Unlike
other Marvel offerings, a lot of it is not going to affect the rest of the landscape of the Marvel Cinematic Universe because most of it is going to be in the quantum realm. They've pretty much said this is almost entirely happening in the quantum realm. In fact, Kevin Feige went so far as to say in some follow-up interviews that he's kind of set certain subsets of the Marvel Universe are getting started. So the street-level heroes are going to be like Daredevil, Spider-Man, and She-Hulk. Yeah. And we're going to get the more epic world level characters in the Avengers and the Thunderbolts and things like. And then you have the cosmic level characters like Captain Marvel and Nova and all of those kind of things. And then you have the mystic characters like Blade and Moon Knight and Doctor Strange, and they're kind of separating them as the Marvel Universe eventually did kind of separate. And sometimes they come together when their things overlap, but we still are getting some separate, distinct subsets of the Marvel Universe now. It's really becoming the full dynamic universe that is Marvel, and what makes it such a great thing.
Yeah.
So,
like, while some of the events may not play much into the rest of the thing, the fact that they're dealing with Kang the Conqueror in this, and how that's going to play out with the rest of the Marvel Universe, I think is going to be a pretty big deal.
Yeah, because the Kang Wars comes up later. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to Kang more in a little bit. Up next, we've got Secret Invasion, which is supposed to come a Disney Plus series coming out in spring of 2023.
It's supposed to have a few things going on with it. They did not show any preview trailer for it.
No.
But
no trailer for that.
We know that we get the real Nick Fury comes back to Earth, so it's no longer the Skrull imposter Nick Fury. Yeah. We know that it's going to feature, among other characters, Rhodey. So even though right now we don't have official word on Armor Wars, we know Rhodey's going to be part of the Secret Invasion series. We know there's a couple other characters like the blonde from Game of Thrones that played Daenerys has got a character that's going to be in Secret Wars, but they've not named her.
Oh. I think they said Kobe Mulders is coming back to play her character, Maria Hill, and I think they said that the premise of the show is primarily to focus around Nick Fury going off the grid because he doesn't know who to trust during this secret invasion with Skrulls.
Of the Skrulls, yeah. And we're not sure, but there's rumors that the character, because they've not named the character that, what's her name, that played Daenerys, is playing, but she might be the new version of Quake. They're not sure. They have not said as a definite. But that's one of the things in the rumor mill. But of course, we all know the rumor mill.
Next is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 coming out May 5th, 2023. This one, they had a trailer that they showed at the convention, but didn't drop it out publicly yet. Again, I watched the
bootleg
from it.
Right.
So we got a quick shot of what Adam Warlock is going to look like.
Right. We get Cosmo the Wonder Dog.
Yeah, Cosmo the Wonder Dog, who's
changing gender.
They got a woman actress who I forget her name, but she was in the second Borat movie.
And
it's gonna have the High Evolutionary in it.
Right.
As a villain. I mean, he has to be a villain, you know.
Right.
They said that this movie is gonna have a different tone than the others. It's gonna be a little bit more emotional.
And James Gunn said he had to do the third movie in order to round out Rocket's tale. So Rocket is going to be highly featured in it, and we're going to get some of Rocket's origin as part of the story. So,
and actually, part of the leaked footage that I saw had baby Rocket. He just looks like really sad, and he's like such a cute little tiny creature, little
ball of fur, yeah.
And he's looking scared in the cage as a hand is reaching out for him. I was like, oh no.
So for all you people out there that love Rocket the Raccoon, this is going to give you that in-depth dive on Rocket that everybody's been hoping for. So Bradley Cooper's going to have his work cut out for him in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 because James Gunn has already pretty much stated that a big part of this is going to be Rocket. And that he had to do it for Rocket's sake.
Something I'm pretty excited about that is we see in the leaked footage, there were several shots of the Guardians wearing their traditional blue uniforms from the comics.
Nice.
Yeah, I saw Drax wearing it and Rocket wearing it at different moments within the leaked footage, so that's pretty cool too. And Groot is like full size again. He's not like in his.
So we got adult Groot. Groot.
Yeah,
I am
ready to
Groot.
grow up.
I am Groot.
So that's super exciting.
And then shortly, I mean, barely after Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Echo premieres on Disney Plus as the next offering. And that's summer. It doesn't have an actual date yet, but we know that it's summer 2023. And Echo is already guaranteed to have Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio in some of the episodes. So we know we're going to get Kingpin, and we know we're going to get Daredevil in that. And since we see Daredevil suited up in She-Hulk, that means that in all likelihood we're going to see Daredevil suited up in Echo as well. Mm-hmm. With whether he changes suits or not, we don't know. But we're going to get some more Charlie Cox love there, which is I'm all for, because I love Daredevil.
Yeah.
Then
Loki season 2, also
which is
summer 2023,
which is going to be, but after Echo. So Echo will come, and then the one that replaces Echo will probably be Loki. So early summer we get Echo, late summer we get Loki. They may swap those two around. They are free to do that because they might have to juggle their schedules. But it partly depends on how their plots interact with each other. But we are going to get more Kang in Loki.
Yeah.
Although we did not get too much previews for Loki. We
didn't get. About all we got for Loki was a release window.
So, and I think there were a couple of costume shots were shown of Sylvie. If you dig, you can get some Sylvie in a different outfit. But then after that, we get the Marvels.
Yep, July 28th, 2023. The
Marvels. And of course, that's Monica Rambeau, Kamala Khan, and Carol Danvers.
Yep.
Teaming up.
Show anything of that? Really, just a release date for that.
Yeah, they're stringing us along, man. Yeah. They're really trying.
Now, I don't think this one is on your chart, but they also revealed X-Men 97 coming out in fall 2023.
Yeah, it's because they kept the animation as a separate thing. That's why I Am Groot is not on this either, because, well, this is 2023, and I Am Groot's coming out 2022. But also, the animation was done in the Friday panel, and then live action was done in the Saturday panel at Hall H, and then the specials like the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas and Werewolf by Night were not really mentioned. Yeah. But they're still assumed to be happening.
So I just want to mention a couple of things that was revealed, because they didn't show any footage for X-Men 97, but like released a few photos, a few images. I mean, there's not photos; it's drawn.
Yeah,
and it looks like we're getting Morph back. And Magneto's going to be the leader of the X-Men.
For a little while, yeah. He's going to take up for Charles.
And they're already working on a next season after this that'll be called X-Men 98. So,
and they're supposed to have rearranged some of the episodes on Disney Plus now to be in proper order.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Because I just started rewatching them just to make sure. I'm in Enter Magneto right now, which is Enter Magneto Part 2, so I'm on episode 4.
I'm really happy about that, because I'm planning on rewatching the entire original series before X-Men 97 comes out.
I'm doing it right now. I started it this morning. Yeah. Nice. We think alike when it comes to a lot of that stuff. Yeah.
I'm waiting a little longer. That way, it's still much fresher.
Oh, I might do it. I might do it again. So you never know. Because I can rewatch that series a lot. I love Wolverine, and I love Gambit, and that showcases Gambit really nice, and I love Gambit.
Yeah. I did rewatch it like 4 years ago on Netflix, like before Disney Plus was a thing. I rewatched it on Netflix,
and I rewatched it when Disney Plus first dropped.
The show still holds up.
When it first dropped, I rewatched it because, hey, a chance to watch X-Men again. Why not? So I did.
The next release date that we got was
Blade.
2023 for Ironheart.
Oh, is Ironheart before Blade? No, Blade has an actual date. Blade has November 2nd, I think it is, 2023, where Ironheart just says fall.
Yeah.
So we're not sure. Ironheart could be anywhere in the fall. But Blade is the next official date that we have solid. And that will be the next big character in the mystic side of the Marvel Universe. And they didn't really show Mahershala Ali, or whatever his name is. I can never pronounce his name.
They just showed a cool logo and the release date for Blade, I think.
But they did point out that the last time we saw Blade was a glimpse at the end of the Eternals.
Yeah,
with the black.
We just heard his voice.
We heard his voice, which was still considered the last time we encountered Blade, and so we know that Black Knight is supposed to be in the Blade series at least a little bit, which is good because Black Knight is a mystical character too.
Yeah. And then so Ironheart is a Disney Plus show coming out in fall 2023, and while they didn't show any footage of Ironheart the show, the character Ironheart had a couple of shots in the Wakanda Forever trailer because she's going to be in
the armor. The armor specifically of Riri Williams, yes.
Yeah, Riri is friends with Shuri. They have like a little moment in like a lab where they're doing like a friend.
Yeah, Shuri helps Riri kind of finalize her armor.
Yeah,
because of course Tony Stark's not around. So
and we see a shot of Riri, knocking out, having like a piece of metal and knocking out a heart shape out of it. So that's pretty cool.
For like the Iron Heart logo. Yeah, and that's the thing is they had to do Wakanda Forever before they could do Ironheart, because Ironheart is going to be the feature, but like Wakanda Forever is kind of partly the backdoor pilot to it. It's when it introduces that character, because a lot of non-comic book people are not familiar with Ironheart.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
This is our introduction.
Yeah.
In fact, it's how they should have handled like Mobius. I mean Morbius. The living vampire. They should have introduced him in a Spider-Man or Venom feature first to introduce him. That way more people would have got excited to watch the Morbius movie. Because it's better if they introduce these unknown characters first somewhere. Sometimes it works. Like Miss Marvel worked just fine as a Disney Plus show featured around her. But that's Disney Plus. You're not going to get the same reaction as you are in the movie theater. People aren't going to pay $14, $15 to come watch a character that they've got no emotional connection to. But they might stream about it. So it was better to do something like, if you're going to do a character that a large portion of the community doesn't know, start them out as a Disney Plus, or even better, introduce them in a movie or other Disney Plus show, and then give them their own pilot. And that's what they should have done with Morbius, and it is what they are doing with Ironheart, and I think it's the right path. I think that they're doing wonderful with that.
Yeah.
Just like with Agatha's Coven of Chaos, which is the next thing on the list.
So we got a release window of winter 2023/2024 for Agatha Coven of Chaos, which originally was called Agatha House of Harkness.
And it got a new name.
Probably
better
a
name.
better name for it. But not gonna lie, House of Harkness sounded cool.
I liked House of Harkness to be, but anything with the word chaos in it is also pretty cool. So it's kind of a thing.
Chaos. I like
Coven
the
of
title. It's good.
And it kind of shows that they may feature other members of the Coven who might not be in the Harkness clan, and so maybe it opens the window a little bit wider, and that could be a good thing. So Coven of Chaos is not bad, but I got to admit, I really, really like the title House of Harkness. So it's going to be kind of an iffy thing going into it. After watching it, I'll decide if they were better changing the name or not.
Yeah.
But I'm going to reserve judgment until then. but I'm excited to see it because Agatha was the runaway hit of WandaVision. Everybody loved Agatha Harkness, and she played it so well, as shown by the fact that one of the most watched episodes of all Disney Plus was the musical number that Agatha Harkness did. And musical episodes are very hit or miss in nerd shows. Sometimes
it wasn't like the episode was a musical. There was like one scene that was a musical.
But that kind of thing is very hit or miss with shows. Yeah. For non-Disney princessy shows. Disney princessy shows, you expect them to sing every other scene. But
she's a Disney character, and as
in the Marvel genre.
In her rank as a witch, maybe she counts as a witch princess of Disney. I don't know.
Maybe she's an evil stepmother type.
This next title was a huge announcement.
Oh my God!
Surprise. Spring 2024. We're getting
Daredevil Born Again.
18 episodes for Daredevil.
Of Charlie Cox, and a lot of them are also going to feature Vincent D'Onofrio, because he's going to still be. They already said he's still going to be the primary villain in the Daredevil series.
Yeah.
But we are going to get some fresh Charlie Cox goodness. So we're going to get a little bit of retconning of the Netflix series, but I think we're going to benefit. There's going to be a little. They've admitted that there's going to be a little bit of retconning, but that for the most part, it's going to be the same Daredevil.
Okay.
Is what I understand. Is what Kevin Feige has come out and said, is that it's going to be the same Daredevil with a little bit of retconning sprinkled in. And I'm okay with that. A little bit of retconning happens every once in a while, especially when you're moving property IPs from one production company to another. You will get some retconning if you keep the characters to make them fit, and that's what they're going to do.
Something I got to thinking about, like most of these other shows we've been getting for Marvel, most of them have been, 6 episodes. We had that one that was 9 episodes, like WandaVision was 9 episodes. But I was thinking about it a little bit, about the differences in the amount of time that we get. And Daredevil having 18 episodes.
And She-Hulk gets 10.
Daredevil is, out of all the Disney Plus shows, it's probably going to require the absolute smallest amount of special effects.
But it's also going to it's going to require a lot more depth in their storyline, so they're going to need the time.
Well, what I was getting at, I'm not complaining about anything.
No, by no means. More is great.
I was just thinking about, I was like, why does She-Hulk get only 6 episodes, or 10 episodes, but they're 30 minutes, like 6 hours? The other shows get between 5.5 to 6 hours of footage across however many episodes long they are. 18 episodes, I'm imagining that's probably going to be closer to 10 to 12 hours of content for Daredevil Born Again.
Because I think each episode's supposed to be in the 40 to 50 minute range.
And so I got to thinking, I was like, why does Daredevil get so much more content? And I was like, oh, that's probably because they don't need to do all the special effects that they. She-Hulk is a lot of special effects. WandaVision was a lot of special effects. Falcon Soldier was a decent amount of special effects because you got a guy flying around and stuff like that. Not nearly as much as the other ones, but still pretty good. Got a guy with a metal arm.
Yeah, Daredevil, you mainly just have a blind lawyer who dresses up and flips around like a super acrobat.
Yeah.
So.
Those are a lot of ninjas. A blind ninja.
Yeah, blind ninja. That's what they called him in the Defenders. Is blind ninja.
I'm stoked. I can't wait to see. He was a fantastic Daredevil, and I'm so happy to see him getting this.
Oh, Charlie Cox owned that role. He owned it
so much. He's getting a lot of love between Spider-Man: No Way Home, She-Hulk,
Echo,
and then 18 episodes for his own show. Oh man!
Obviously, the world loves Charlie Cox's Daredevil.
Yeah,
and that means just cross your fingers and hope that later on, because we've got a lot of slots open in 2026 and beyond that have not been announced yet, we might get a feature Daredevil movie eventually.
Cool.
That's not the Ben Affleck treatment that didn't exist. I mean, as much as I like Ben Affleck, it didn't exist.
That'd be fun if they did some kind of a multiverse crossover thing where the Ben Affleck Daredevil shows up and dies immediately, or gets beat by our Charlie Cox Daredevil.
Yeah, or something,
Anyway,
something to sort. Because we got a multiverse, so we could do that.
Yeah.
Moving on from Daredevil, we get Captain America, the New World Order, and that's going to be the first Falcon-led Captain America. So it's going to feature around Falcon.
Sam Wilson's Captain America.
Yeah, the winged Captain America, because he combines his Captain America suit with his Falcon suit, which we saw at the end of Winter Soldier. I mean, at the end of.
There's word there's going to be another Falcon showing up in this movie, but I don't know if that's accurate.
But we know that this one's going to feature Sam Wilson.
To be Sam Wilson's wingman, you know?
Yeah, I see what you did there.
They didn't show much more about it, just the title and release date. I gotta say that's a good movie title. You know what's fun? Marvel, just before San Diego Comic-Con happened, trademarked a whole lot of titles, and some of them they did not make announcements for. Some of them they did. They announced like 4 different Captain America, or they didn't announce. They trademarked like 4 different Captain America titles. One of them was called Captain America Red, White, and Black, which I thought might end up being the movie title. But New World Order was the one.
They're
just trademarking extras.
Oh yeah, like one of the other things the legal issues that they were having with Scarlett Johansson got settled, and we don't know what one, but we're going to get Scarlett Johansson as the as the producer of an upcoming Marvel project, and they haven't said which, but the anticipation is it might be Thunderbolts. But Scarlett Johansson will be the producer, so they've actually come to an arrangement with Scarlett Johansson. They're no longer feuding, which is good because Scarlett Johansson is any kind of prequel scenes that might require the Black Widow, you really need Scarlett Johansson for.
Yeah.
And I would like to see her in the production chair because she hasn't done that yet. And they have signed at least one agreement for her to produce one show, and the rumor mill has it as being Thunderbolts.
So, Captain America New World Order, May 3rd, 2024.
And then Thunderbolts.
Then Thunderbolts is the next announced movie. Next announced project after that. And I think Thunderbolts is considered Phase 6.
No,
Phase 6.
Thunderbolt is considered the transition.
Oh, no,
this is the end of
Phase 5.
It's the end of Phase 5. Because Phase 6 starts with Fantastic Four.
So yeah, we got Thunderbolts, which is apparently going to have Ghost, Baron Zemo, Agent,
U.S. Agent, pretty Abomination. Basically, most of the people that the Dreyfus met up with at the end of other shows.
Exactly.
All of them that Julia Dreyfus as what we believe is like Madam Hydra, or we're not exactly sure what character she is.
I get the feeling that the goal here is to make the Thunderbolts kind of a dark Avengers movie.
The Thunderbolts in a lot of ways are the Marvel version of the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
They're villains that are in that role.
What I was getting at is, how like in the first 3 phases, most of the phases were nearly ended, other than they had like a little epilogue movie afterwards, but like they were kind of climaxed. The previous 3 phases were kind of climaxed with an Avengers event. I'm thinking Thunderbolts is going to be like an Avengers level film event, but of not quite of anti-heroes instead of the pure superheroes. And so
and like
that has me really excited about the promise of what Thunderbolts could be.
And it gets to focus on some of the characters that, although they might be on the shade of gray scale or worse, are really interesting characters that people love, like Abomination, like Black Widow 2, like U.S. Agent. You know, there are people that want to see more of those characters, so Thunderbolt is going to be our chance to see that. And if it does happen to also be Scarlett Johansson's directorial production level premiere, it'll be interesting to see how she handles it.
Yeah.
And that will end Phase 5.
I mean, if you think about it, all these characters they were the villains of the movies or the shows they were introduced in, generally speaking, or at some point we've seen them as the villain or as the antagonist. However, they weren't necessarily evil. Like Zemo, who
Zemo
to tear up the Avengers, to explode the Avengers. Whose reasoning made sense for why he was doing this.
And in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, he was very, very helpful.
Yeah. He's one track mind of, the super soldier serum shouldn't exist, and so
he's like Magneto and some of the other villains. Marvel villains often get a redemption arc because a lot of Marvel villains don't think of themselves as the villain. They might be the villain, but they don't always think of themselves as the villain. Magneto always thought he was fighting for mutant rights. He always thought he was the the Martin Luther King of mutants. He thought he was the spokesman for mutant rights, but he didn't think that the humans would accept mutants without the show of force. Where Charles thought that we could live in harmony together. Magneto's like, yeah, bullshit. Nope, we're obviously the next evolutionary step. We'll just take over right now. But Magneto's had a redemption arc, and that's the thing, is Marvel loves to give their villains some kind of redemption arc, or maybe not a full redemption arc.
Whether or not they get a redemption arc, they try to make them human.
Yeah, they're multifaceted. They're not 100% evil. It's not like, for instance, the Joker in DC, who's obviously insane and evil, or something. They've got shades of gray in there.
I mean, Lex is very single-mindedly evil. He believes himself to be the hero because he's a racist against aliens. That's his thing.
He thinks he's protecting. A lot of ways, he thinks he's protecting the Earth from Superman. He really does. But like characters like, for instance, Doctor Doom, his country loves him because he takes massive care of people in Latveria.
Yeah.
Because Doctor Doom, and he is one of the biggest villains that ever came out of Marvel. But to the Latverians, he's not a villain. He's their savior. They love Doctor Doom there. Victor Von Doom is worshipped practically by his peasantry because he has fed the poor and treated the sick and kept all invaders out of Latvia. He just doesn't do it. And that's a Marvel thing. That's kind of when you look at the two big superhero genre giants, you got DC and you got Marvel. Marvel characters are very three-dimensional, nuanced characters, and DC characters are very what do I want to call them? Very
one-dimensional.
No, I want to call it archetypal. They're very archetypal. They're very.
Here's something that kind of gives you a lot of, especially the bigger ones, more popular ones. The more successful villains of the two different franchises, brands. DC villains, the henchmen for DC villains, are basically just hired guns that are getting paid and or are afraid of their boss.
Right.
Whereas a lot of the Marvel villains, their main henchmen, believe in the same vision as their boss, and that's why they follow them.
Or they're actual other villains that are teaming up, and it just
I'm talking about like the Brotherhood of Mutants that serve Magneto.
They totally believe in Magneto. Yeah,
they believe in Magneto's vision.
Yeah, exactly right. And that is how it is. But when you're a henchman of a DC villain, most of the time you're a little better than a putty from Power Rangers. You're just a number, you know. You're thing one and thing two, you know.
Our next, I want to move on because we're after 9.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The next movie that they gave us a release date for was Fantastic Four.
Because we're now in Phase 6. We're now in
This
Phase
is the
6.
start of Phase 6.
Phase 6,
Now,
we get Fantastic Four, and they have not released anybody as far as casting.
Yeah.
They are being so secretive. We don't know if they've already set on a cast or anything. They have told us next to nothing.
We know exactly 3 facts about Fantastic Four. Maybe 4 facts, depending on how you
We know it opens up
we know it's
Phase
the
6.
first movie of Phase 6, and that it releases November 8th, 2024, and then we know the title and logo.
Yeah,
And
that's
we're not even
it.
sure about the logo. The logo might change between now and then.
And the title might change.
The title might change between now and then.
Or at least the subtitle might get added. You know, you don't know.
Exactly.
But yeah, and they're being so secretive about Marvel's first family. And I mean, the Fantastic Four is a huge deal in Marvel because back in the day when Stan Lee got together with what's his name, and they decided they wanted to come up with the first team for Marvel Comics. They were like, okay, what are we going to do? Because we need to do a team. Because they hadn't done a team before the Fantastic Four. And then it was like, well, okay, how many would be a good number of members? Okay, 4. 4 sounds good. Well, if we're going to do 4, let's base them on the 4 primordial elements. Air, earth, fire, and water. And they individually came up with the powers for the Fantastic Four as variations on the 4 elements. Like, Reed Richards is stretchy, but he represents water. And the Invisible Girl represents air. The Torch obviously represents fire, and the Thing obviously represents earth.
I wasn't aware of that, but that 100% makes complete sense.
That if you read the origin of the Fantastic Four, and Stan Lee wrote about it, that was their thought process. They started out with the 4 primordial elements, but they didn't want to make them direct translations. They wanted to make them variations on it. So they took Invisible Girl and Reed Richards. Those 2 were variations, and then the Human Torch and Ben Grimm are exact translations of their elements. Yeah. They are fire and earth.
So yeah, we didn't get much information on this, but a release date is something. So we have a window,
and we know it opens up the phase, which is huge.
It opens up Phase 6, and then by the way, before we move on, they did give us a saga title. While Phase 1, 2, and 3 were the Infinity Saga, Phases 4, 5, and 6 is the Multiverse Saga, which is awesome.
And they took the I-4 from Phase 4 in Roman numerals, and they incorporated it into the word multiverse. Because they showed the big capital IV for 4, and then they brought in the other letters around it, and it made multiverse. Because Phase 4 started the Multiverse Saga, and then they flipped the I and V around to end the Multiverse Saga with Phase 6. And this is now the culmination of the Multiverse Saga that we're coming into with Phase 6. And another thing that we have not mentioned that we're about to mention is the fact that notice Phase 4 and Phase 5 have no Avenger titles.
Yeah. And before we get to Avengers, I want to mention we have a couple of animation projects coming out late 2024 or sometime in 2024. We don't have a window time besides 2024. We got an animation of Spider-Man Freshman Year, which they put out some artwork for it.
And will feature the voice of Charlie Cox in there somewhere.
Yeah. Daredevil's going to appear in Freshman Year. Now,
somewhere.
Something I did learn about Freshman Year that is kind of confusing. We thought it was going to be in canon with the Tom Holland, MCU Spider-Man, but they revealed that Doc Ock is going to be one of the villains in freshman year, and they included artwork of what Doc Ock is going to look like, which he looks great. But that doesn't make any sense with the story
Because
we got in No Way Home.
because yeah, in No Way Home, he didn't even recognize Doc Ock, and in fact, they made a big thing of making jokes of Doc Ock's name because they thought it was ridiculous.
Yeah,
The other thing is he's also going to be friends with Harry Osborn, and Norman Osborn is going to be the mentor instead of Tony Stark in freshman year. Yet he didn't know the
of Norman Osborn in the same stances and poses and positions as Tony Stark was when he first meets him, with sitting by his aunt and everything. So
this is going to be a slight variant. It's not going to be the 1999 universe. It's going to be something just off of it.
Yeah.
And it's not even going to have Tom Holland's voicing Spider-Man.
Yeah, they haven't announced who's voicing Spider-Man, but they announced.
But they announced specifically that it's not Tom Holland.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, it's not Garfield or Maguire either.
Yeah.
So
and they showed artwork of a bunch of different villains. They've got I think Hammerhead. No, not Hammerhead.
They've got Sandman, Green Goblin, Doc Ock.
Sandman and Green Goblin. I remember had Doc Ock. They had Scorpion. They had.
Did they do Lizard?
I don't remember if Lizard was on it.
I don't know. I didn't watch a lot of that one.
Yeah, but they released some art for a number of different characters. The art looks pretty neat. But yeah, just so everyone knows though, that's kind of the big takeaway is this isn't going to take place in the same Tom Holland Spider-Man universe.
But it's like one step away.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to be a variation on that Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But with slightly different mentors and villains.
And then the other animation project that we got some new information on was Marvel Zombies.
Oh, yes.
They're taking the same universe from the zombie episode of
What If?
And doing a whole show of that universe with those zombies.
Which, as a lot of people may know, was a limited run comic series.
Yeah.
Marvel Zombies.
They announced that Marvel Zombies show is going to be rated TVMA and won't shy away from the gore.
Which is basically the equivalent of an R rating on TV.
Yes, that's the same thing as an R-rated for a TV show. Which they can do now, which they proved when they put out Deadpool, Deadpool 2, and Logan on Disney Plus just recently.
Which I just watched all three of them last night. So
that's all I wanted to mention about those two projects. This is also supposed to come out in 2024 as well, Marvel Zombies.
So those are all Phase 5 animation projects.
Yeah.
But animation was handled separately, so it's not on this timeline.
Yeah. And they also announced there's going to be a season 3 of What If, and also there's going to be a second season of Spider-Man Freshman Year, but the second season is going to be called Spider-Man Sophomore Year.
Right.
And then that's I think everything I've got on those particular things. Now we're ready for the big guys, the big daddies of Phase 6.
Yeah.
You want to say the title of the next movie?
Well, the next movie is a Avengers movie.
Yeah,
and
Avengers, the Kang Dynasty.
Kang Dynasty.
Yeah.
And then
this movie's gonna be so much better than Duck Dynasty. I swear.
But yeah, it's gonna start building to the culmination of Kang as the big villain, which has been the big villain for the Multiverse Saga, and then we move into the last, or kind of like. You know how they've been doing the Avengers? They did in Phase 1, 2, and 3. The last Avengers was split into 2 movies. Because it was Infinity Wars and Endgame. Was really Part 1 and Part 2 of the End saga. Well, these two are going to be like a Part 1, Part 2 of the end of the Multiverse Saga. And what we're getting is the Kang Avengers movie followed by Secret Wars.
So
now
we don't know much about
either of them.
We don't know if it's a Part 1, Part 2. They didn't say anything about these two movies other than their titles and their release dates, and they showed some artwork.
And that they are part of the end of the multiverse
they're
saga.
the end of the multiverse saga. They released 6 months apart. Is it 7 months? 7
Something
months
like
apart from
that.
each other. Yeah,
And there's a
so
lot of windows in between for other movies.
yes,
And they've
so
announced some of the dates. They just haven't put any titles in those dates.
So King Dynasty is May 2nd, 2025, and Avengers Secret Wars is November 7th, 2025. And then throughout 2025, there's like another, like, I think 7 additional dates for Marvel projects, a mixture of movies and shows.
But they're expecting to get as many as a dozen by the time they're done. And now the big question on everybody's mind is the mutants in there somewhere and just not announced, or is the mutants going to follow as Phase 7? We don't know, and they're leaving it a mystery.
Yeah, they're leaving a mystery. My speculation, I don't want to spend much time on speculation. My speculation is one of two things. Either they don't want to announce the mutant stuff until after Wakanda Forever comes out, because Wakanda Forever, I think, is going to make a bigger point of mentioning Namor being a mutant, I believe. And then we'll get more information and teases, I think about mutants later.
I think they're going to try to backdoor introduce us to a couple of more mutants in some of their other projects. Like She-Hulk. She-Hulk is going to be a perfect vehicle to introduce somebody.
So I think they're either going to do some mutant stuff in advance of Secret Wars, and if they don't, then I think Secret Wars is going to have a big part of the conflict of Secret Wars being mutants of another universe fighting the supers of our universe.
So change the battle world a little bit, which they have the freedom to do. Because the other thing is, the other possibility is the mutants will be the start of Phase 7, but the mutants were a big part of the Battle World saga, so we don't know if they're going to decide to use them or write them out and add them in later.
I'm feeling confident that the mutants are going to be involved in the Secret Wars.
Some mutants might be involved. Are they going to be our world's mutants, or are they going to be another world's mutants?
That's what I'm saying is, I don't know if they're going to be mutants from our world that we're going to get introduced to over time between now and then, or if we're going to have a war against mutants in Secret Wars that are jumping at us new.
And it partly depends on how close they're going to want to come to the original Battle World. Because the original Secret Wars was all around Battle World and the Beyonder. Now the big thing is going to be involved with Kang,
I'm pretty sure this Secret Wars is not going to go off the Beyonder story version of Secret Wars. I think it's going to go off John Hickman's Secret Wars, which is the multiversal war, which fits in with this saga.
Yeah, that's the thing, and so we'll see what happens. But like we said, we don't want to go too far into speculation, and we've only covered Marvel at San Diego Comic-Con. We haven't even covered all the other reveals at San Diego Comic-Con. I mean, we've got a reveal about a new Gremlins TV series in the works.
Yeah.
We've got talk about.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we've got talks about Power Rangers projects in the works. We've got talks about what else is on there.
We got a new trailer for Black Adam, and we got our first trailer of Shazam 2.
That's right. We got some DC stuff, and those were
so good.
Oh my God, Shazam: Fury of the Gods. Oh my God, it looks good.
Fun.
And we do know that the giant in the Black Adam movie that you see running in the one preview we've seen is probably it's Adam Smasher, who was a longtime ally of Black Adam and had similar powers to the Atom. But he was Adam Smasher, who could grow to be about 26 feet tall. If he went any higher than that, he was not stable. But he was very similar to the Atom, but he was called Atom Smasher, and he became in the Black Adam storylines the Black Adam's like best friend and right hand man. So it's more than likely going to be Atom Smasher, not the Atom, as that character. And their costume, their symbol, and everything is so similar, it's real easy to confuse the two. But chances are it's probably Atom Smasher because it's a Black Adam movie. And Atom Smasher was Black Adam's, like I said, bosom buddy and right-hand man later on.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. And
they also did a trailer for a new movie of Dungeons and Dragons starring Chris.
Oh my God, Michelle Rodriguez as a barbarian. Oh,
fun. Looks so fun.
Michelle Rodriguez looked like she had so much fun playing the barbarian, and she is so good in that kind of role. And I guess she talked to Vin Diesel about her role because they're good friends from Fast and the Furious, and everybody knows Vin Diesel pinned the introduction to the 30th anniversary edition of Dungeons and Dragons. And he wrote the introduction for that. And she talked to Vin Diesel about her role, and he was like all for it, man. He was great about it. Because Vin Diesel's a huge D&D fan. He's like what Joe Manganiello. You know, him and Joe Manganiello and Deborah Ann Wall and stuff are some of the biggest fans. But the D&D has got some great imagery. Probably the best scene, in my opinion, is when you see the tiefling druid turn into the owlbear and then fight a little bit, and then you see her mid-jump transfer from the owlbear back into the tiefling and land on her horse's saddle and ride away in the preview. That preview is one of the ones available on YouTube. It is fantastic. It's got some other iconic like D&D kind of meme type stuff. Like they're talking about having to save the world and stuff. And Chris Pine is like talking to Michelle Rodriguez, and she's like, "So, what do you think we should do?" And Michelle's like, "Talk about it over a drink." Yeah, I think that's best. I think that's best. And they go to the bar because that's what you do in a D&D game. You go talk it over at the pub.
As a D&D player, I can't wait to play that or watch that movie.
Oh my God!
I just started a new campaign this weekend. That's part of
with Angel, as I understand. Yeah. Also, when we're going to be bringing Angel here in a few minutes if he's available. But one last thing, at Comic-Con, I do want to mention there's so much more we can mention. I mean, it was jam-packed.
Let's try some rapid fire the last couple.
But one of the last things is they had a tavern experience at Comic-Con that one of our friends that went showed some stuff from, and it included a video screen that was supposed to be the window outside the tavern with a dragon attack.
Yeah.
And the dragon attacks, and it breathes the acidic chlorine breath, and then they blew green smoke into the room, so it got the very 3D image. It was fantastic image of a black dragon. It was so cool. It was amazing. That was one of my biggest pros for that. We're going to get another season of Resident Alien. We're going to get another season of Chucky. We're going to be... there's so much being released. There's stuff in comic books that got so much coming out.
They put a new trailer out for the Amazon Prime show Rings of Power, the Lord of the Rings prequel series.
Oh, and the big announcement we almost forgot, and it's coming in just a few days. Sandman comes out August 5th. It's either the 5th or the 6th. But we get Sandman, finally.
We got a trailer for the Sandman.
And we got a trailer for it, and oh my God, it looks fantastic.
It looks perfect.
Oh my.
We also got a trailer for The House of the Dragon, which is the prequel series of Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, yes. We had so much at Comic-Con. Comic-Con was jam-packed with stuff. We found out that
Was there
the
a
series.
Ghostbusters announcement of some kind?
Oh yeah, it was actually a Ghostbusters day, but it was also kind of related to San Diego Comic Con. There's going to be a new Ghostbuster animated series coming out that is going to feature a spectral Spengler, and it's going to have Ray and Vinkman and all of the others not aged up. They're going to be kind of still cartooned at the original age because they're free to do that in cartoons. But they're going to bring Spengler's granddaughter in, and she's going to be a part of the new show. They're going to have the mini Puffs. They're going to have Slimer's cousin. I can't remember his name, Gobbler or whatever. They're going
As a cousin?
Yeah, the one from Afterlife.
Okay. I haven't seen Afterlife. I need to.
Oh, you don't? Oh my God, Afterlife's great. But they're going to have that. They're going to have the remote control car Ghost Trap. You know, it's the RC car Ghost Trap that is introduced in Afterlife. So they're going to blend Afterlife and the 1984 version of Ghostbusters together into a new real Ghostbusters cartoon. So that's going to be another thing that's coming out. Oh my God, it's going to be so great. Another couple of projects. We're going to have Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, which is going to be outside of. It's going to be outside of the Marvel universe, kind of, but related. And if you watch The Runaways, you get introduced to Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur because they're two of the Runaways.
I'm probably going to skip that show. I watched the trailer.
It may or may not be your cup of tea. It may or may not be your cup of tea. But it's going to be introduced. And then there's another project called The Goon. That was a Dark Horse comic that was Kickstarted and was originally owned before Fox was bought out by Disney. Fox was going to produce it, and now Netflix is going to produce it. But it was Kickstarted for in the neighborhood of like $500,000 was raised to come out with the Goon movie. And I don't know if it's live action or if it's animated, but I think it's animated. And it's going to be coming out on Netflix. So, and there's still more that we're not going to have time to reveal, but we're already at 9:27 and we still have Love and Thunder to handle. Do you have Angel in the Wings ready to go?
I sent him a message, but he has not responded. I'm going to try another method.
Yeah, real quick. And if not, we can always go into it without Angel, but we love it when Angel comes in on these things. Of course, we could wax poetic about San Diego Comic-Con even longer and just move Love and Thunder another week if we had to. Because it's really worth it when we can get Angel in. I don't think Lurch is... Oh, Lurch is listening, so I wasn't sure.
I'm listening.
It is worth it if we can get Angel. So if we can't get Angel, we might go back to just talking about San Diego Comic-Con and just have the whole show about it. Because so much has happened. So much happened at San Diego Comic-Con.
He just replied saying, "You want me in now?"
Oh yeah. So yeah. Does he need the link to my Discord again, or does he still have it?
I'm just now asking if he needs the link.
Because I might have to start my bot because I don't think my bot is running yet. Because I did a reboot. Nope, he's coming in. Okay, let me put in the 3-hoster.
Oops.
And it's, of course, probably not going to line up properly. Let's see. Let's see here. Let me look at the thing. I'm seeing that right, but I'm not seeing you right. Let's see if I do this.
How do you do, neighbor?
Hey, how's it going? I'm glad to be here.
Now let's see how it looks.
I like how you live like 2 miles away and I call you a neighbor.
Oh yeah, I mean we did used to
Nope.
live in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
Nope. Let's see. So I'm gonna have to. Let's see. We're not seeing you properly here, Lurch. So I'm gonna have to do some adjusting.
Oh.
Go ahead and start talking while I do some adjusting.
Sure. All right. So we just spent the last 90 minutes talking about San Diego Comic-Con, but But now we're ready to transition into Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yep.
Good.
My voice is a little bit rough, so how about you start if you'd like? Talking about a little bit about your thoughts on Love and Thunder. This is the spoiler section of the show, so we can talk about anything we want on Thor: Love and Thunder.
That's great. Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So,
Oh.
I will go ahead and say it. Gore, the God Butcher, is probably my favorite Marvel villain of all time. I've been a fan of him for years. Lurch will know I fanboyed about him years ago. Like that was my very first foray into Thor comics that wasn't Beta Ray Bill, which is another one of my favorite Thor characters. Which I was really sad was not in the movie. I know it would have been a busy movie, but that would have been like the best movie of this year.
Oh, Beta Ray Bill would have been amazing. I love Beta Ray Bill. That would have been amazing. That and Frog Thor. Frog Thor would have been another good one to have.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Throg.
I feel like Throg is a better fit as like a guest character in an episode of a show.
But it still would have been great.
Best character in Loki.
I don't. He had a brief cameo appearance, but I mean, like a featured guest character for an episode of a show, I think is suitable
That
for
would've
Throg.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Gore is my favorite. I had some walking away from the movie initially. My thoughts were, I really don't feel like they gave, and I still feel this way. I don't think they gave enough screen time to Gore because he's such a complicated character.
Well, among other things, they left out his big monologue, which was so good. Because he did a really good monologue in that original comic, and they cut that. They truncated it, and the monologue that they put in just wasn't the same.
Yeah.
Because,
I just feel. Oh, sorry, Mark.
I'm just saying that monologue they should have left in if they were going to leave anything in. The Gore, the God Butcher monologue would have been one of the things that I would have made sure to showcase, because that was one of the best parts about Gore, the God Butcher, is that he was so well spoken as a villain.
Yeah, so Gore had in my opinion, Gore like every step of the way you saw Gore fail, you saw him take those failings in and like move on, and that's just the concept of Gore. I do believe probably like if we would have had a Thor Disney Plus show, I think that's where Gore probably would have been best in. But in a movie, this was literally the best they could do.
Oh yeah, they did a great job.
I was not at. It wasn't what I wanted, but it was what they could do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it was in the realms of their possibilities right now. But it was. Yeah, there's so much more they could have done.
Yeah. Thor had a very important role in the movie here, and I think his story isn't finished. Like we haven't gotten to the God Bomb yet. That wasn't a thing that they had done. I believe that Gore stole children for a reason. And you'll have to excuse my side. For some reason, it shows just now to start raining. Gore. So my thoughts on it, because like we can go over how it got there originally, but I feel like Gore might be redeemed if they take him turning his daughter into a god bomb as his wish, to show Thor how to love a child, only to see that child die and take everything else Thor loves with her. I think is truly a Gore move. That he would, because he chose his vengeance over his family in the comics, which is how the movie and the comics differed, and in such a nuanced way that made you think, like he wasn't a traditional villain, even though he was doing traditional villain things. I don't know how they managed it, but I don't honestly believe Gore's story is finished.
No, and obviously, the impression they tried to give us with the previews and stuff is that Jane, as the mighty Thor, was going to take over for Thor going forward. But then they obviously, because we can do spoilers in this episode, obviously they pretty much ended Jane Foster at the end of the movie. So Thor is going to have to be Thor going forward still. We're not going to replace it with Jane Foster. Which is what, like I said, everybody was kind of expecting, is like Jane Foster was going to go forward as the new mighty Thor for a while.
Yeah.
And Thor was going to kind of retire or go off with the Guardians of the Galaxy.
I told Lurch before the movie came out, I said it doesn't make sense for them to keep Jane Foster as Thor. It just it doesn't make sense.
Well,
I predicted early on that Jane was going to die in that movie.
Well, the mighty Thor run wasn't very long for her, so that makes sense. But I could have seen it last more than one movie. But it's still, they did pretty good by showing that the hammer could give her the great power, but it couldn't cure her cancer.
Yeah.
See, the gore in the comics was such a power. See, the reason why I thought Beta Ray Bill might be introduced to this movie was because, and I thought Love and Thunder was supposed to be Beta Ray Bill bringing the thunder, and Jane Foster's Thor bringing the love, and then because it was like Thor's a part of it.
Thor, comma, love, comma, and thunder.
So
it was the three of them. Gotcha. Yeah.
Because in the comics it took young Thor, old like modern day Thor and old Thor to. And how interesting would it have been for Thor to learn that there was someone else that was given power by Odin similar to him, probably by a prototype, like wielding a prototype.
Mjolnir, right?
I mean, like it would have been very interesting. It could have also led into a small Fear Itself storyline where a whole bunch of people got a hold of hammers.
Right.
Yeah.
Instead, the interpretation of thunder in this one was Zeus's thunderbolt as wielded by Valkyrie, I think.
Was it? I thought no. The thunder was Thor, and love was Thor's daughter.
Well, love was both the daughter and Jane, so they were both kind of representative. Thunder, because Thor was his own representative. Thunder, in a lot of ways, was the thunderbolt because it was considered the big weapon, and then the other part of thunder was Mjolnir itself because there was that kind of anthropomorphizing of Mjolnir that they did in this movie because they gave Mjolnir personality and everything and had it pick Jane over Thor.
Stormbreaker also. So that was something else.
the jealousy. The jealousy, yeah.
Stormbreaker and Mjolnir both have personality. So just kind of a quick.
Interesting that Stormbreaker has a person. Like I'd understand Mjolnir if it kept the cloud storyline that we never actually got an explanation for.
Yeah.
But I'm confused as to how Stormbreaker has it.
Well, I mean,
I'm thinking it that maybe it developed some of his personality from Groot's arm.
Who knows? Because
it has a lot of Groot energy, doesn't it? It has.
So
I am
was
Groot.
thinking. So kind of my overarching thought is, I think the handling of Jane Foster's story was amazing.
Yeah.
They did great.
Start to end, they did good. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the way they handled Jane was amazing. I think that the way they handled Gore was pretty good, but not as good as the books.
Yeah, the Gore could have been handled better.
I liked what we got.
But Christian Bale was a good Gore.
Yeah.
Christian Bale was good in the role.
I do have to interject. When we first saw the movie, Lurch will tell you, I was torn because I was struggling to piece apart the comic book Thor from the version we got from the movie.
Yeah.
After sitting on it, I'm like, Marvel really didn't have a choice.
Yeah. They had to change him a little bit. They did.
They wanted a 3-movie deal deal to have Gore as
Yeah.
like the primary.
Right. They had to rush it a little bit.
Yeah, because I mean, just the first storyline of Gore, because he's had two different appearances. He's had two major storylines. The first one being bigger than the second one, and his first major story arc took 20 or 35 comics to tell that story.
Yes. So that's a lot to rush into one movie.
Yeah, that's like taking the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy and making it a singular movie.
I mean,
Like they did in the 80s.
yeah.
They did that in a cartoon in the 80s.
I mean, they did end up ending the. They ended the movie with a Deus Ex Machina by just having him wish for his daughter back instead of. That was very much a Deus Ex Machina.
We never heard what Gore's wish was, which I think was extremely important, and why I think that's a tell. I'm saying it here. There's going to be proof. His daughter is going to be used as a weapon against the gods. I do not believe.
It could be.
I do fully. I 100% agree with you on that front, and largely because I think we've already been proven that with the post-credit scenes, because one of our post-credit scenes had Zeus, who's pissed off at Thor for throwing him, hurting him with his own light thunderbolt, and he's telling Hercules, we're gonna show these people what gods are really made of. And so
yeah.
I feel like the Olympians are gonna lead the charge, but I think the God of Thunder, I think Thor and the little girl are going to be fighting against other gods.
For anyone who's seen it, probably didn't understand or didn't catch it on first viewing. That little girl is Eternity.
Right.
Eternity gave up his form and all of his power to be that little girl.
Yeah, she's Eternity's avatar.
Yep,
she's become the avatar of Eternity.
She has all of the power of everything that ever was and ever will be, and we never heard Gore's wish. That is terrifying.
Yeah.
Another thing that, since you did bring up that end of credit scene, one of the big disappointments I had was the underutilization of Hercules, because I was expecting more Hercules. Because we're going to get him later. We're going to get him later. They're just setting it up, and we're going to get him later. But I really wanted to see just a little smidge more of Hercules, because...
I don't think they could have shoved many more plot points in that movie. Oh my god.
Yeah. But the rivalry between Thor and Hercules is one of the famous rivalries in Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
And so I thought we would get a little bit more before it became personal.
Yeah. I can't complain about what we got of Hercules in this, because it's just a tease of what's going to happen in the future.
And I did...
Hold on. In Marvel Comics, gods get their powers by how many people? Like, the more people that believe in Thor, obviously, because Thor is on planet Earth.
They're powered by belief, yeah.
Yeah. And so you got Zeus saying these people need to fear us again.
Yep.
So Zeus plans on putting the fear of God back into every fucking person. And there's no Steve Rogers to say, I only believe in one God for all of them.
Yeah. Right. The gods were opened up. The other big thing that disappointed a few people was the handling of Valkyrie in this movie.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of people were disappointed. A lot of people didn't think that her bisexuality was as represented as it was previously, that it was majorly underplayed, and the only nod they really gave to LGBTQ in the movie was Taika Waititi's character, when they said that he mated with another male rock creature, basically.
All the Cronins are males. I think they identify.
Yeah. And that's the only nod to the homosexuality or LGBTQ community. The only real major nod.
Well, even if it was true, there wasn't a necessity, because the only love that needed to be displayed was the comedic love between Thor and his hammers. and the love between Jane Foster and Thor. Everything else would have been shoved in for no reason other than the inclusion, and I believe it includes.
Well, a lot of people.
Set the,
Hang on, before we get into too much arguing, Valkyrie, flirted with one of the girls in Omnipotent City and kissed her hand, was all flirty with her.
And was a little flirty to Jane Foster too.
And she had a conversation with Korg, where Korg was talking about their breeding and stuff. She talked a bit about trying to find a woman that she loves with, and then there was even a mention about her losing her first love, who was a fellow Valkyrie. So
right, it was mentioned, but
3 mentions of her being bisexual.
But it was underplayed, and a lot of the people thought that because in the Marvel universe, she's one of the big representatives of the LGBT community, and they
getting married.
No, they just
how much more representation can you ask?
They just figured that they felt that it was underplayed, but that doesn't mean that there's a great solution. It just means that community thought that
sorry, go on.
That subset of the community did feel they were let down because the previous showcase of Valkyrie, it was much more blatant. And then
So I would like to go on ahead and say, for those of you guys who didn't know, I'm pansexual. I am very much interested in men as I am in women, and I didn't feel that at all, not even a little bit. No one I know has felt that.
A lot of that community has spoken out.
That sounds like 5 people on Twitter are mad and making a lot of noise.
And it could be sometimes the minority is the loudest.
There were 5 instances of LGBTQ representation in the movie alone. I've not heard one single member of the Alphabet Army upset about it, but I have heard non-members of the Alphabet Army upset that there was so much inclusion of LGBT stuff in that movie.
I have heard that.
The issue I heard.
Well, yeah, you hear that every time there's a whisper, because a lot of the phobes out there. I'm going to lump them all together as just the phobes. A lot of the phobes out there, you even blink in a pansexual way and they get up in arms. It is absolutely true. It is absolutely true.
It's too feminine, they'll throw it.
I know, right? But I mean, that is part of the outcry on some of the boards and stuff that I frequent that talk on this, and includes some represent, but that doesn't mean that it might not have just been a vocal minority. It was played less than it was before. It was less than it was before, but like you said, it might have been just the right amount still for what they were trying to tell the story. And forcing any more would have been too blatant.
There's a group of people, I've seen a couple people, not a lot, upset that we saw Thor's ass, but didn't see equal, they wanted equal rights of seeing a girl's ass fair on camera, and I thought that was equally funny. We didn't get that either. We weren't hypersexualizing female Thor.
That was one of the examples of where they said they downplayed her homosexuality, is the fact that how she reacted when Thor was exposed, ignoring the fact that just because somebody might be gender fluid or pansexual or even lesbian doesn't mean that they can't appreciate the male form, because some of them do. It just doesn't. In fact, some of the biggest flirts I know are lesbians, and that'll flirt with guys because they love just the sport of flirting, and they still appreciate a man's form. They just may not want to do anything with it. You know?
It's such a dumb complaint.
And Valkyrie's not necessarily supposed to be lesbian. She's supposed to be more actually bi, but extremely female-centric when it comes to her preferences. So that might have been a perfect representation.
I think we just spent 10 over 30 minutes of Thor Love and Thunder about whether or not Valkyrie's bisexuality was represented enough or whatever.
That's because that was one of the main criticisms I saw about the movie when I was checking other boards. That was one of the main criticisms. But other than that, most of it has been overwhelmingly positive.
I mean, I've seen plenty of criticism. Some people complain about there being too many jokes.
I thought the comedy balance was great.
Something that didn't get old, and I thought it would be, was all the goat screaming. Like, really?
Oh yeah, they didn't overplay. They didn't actually overplay it. They did just about the right amount of that. The other thing,
can you overplay that? Like, how?
It's funny. It's like when I saw the trailers, I laughed, and then after I was done watching the trailer for the first time, or maybe it was after watching the trailer the second time, I was like, okay, that bit with the goats is hilarious, but I hope we don't hear him screaming too often.
You had said that was going to get old. You said that was going to get old.
I was worried it was going to get old, and no, they perfectly timed that, and for comedic effect.
It never got old. Yeah. But you had vocalized that in previous shows. You said that you were worried that it was going to get old.
Yeah.
And it didn't.
I talked about that before I saw the movie. I was worried
you did.
About that getting old.
And it actually was great. The other great thing they did in this movie, and I mentioned this in the non-spoiler show, and I know most people agree, the soundtrack to this movie was perfect because it was basically 99% Appetite for Destruction by Guns N' Roses. And that was my anthem album growing up.
Yeah.
I wore, like I told Lurch last week, I wore through 3 cassette tapes listening to that on Walkman because I loved, especially "Sweet Child of Mine." It's my favorite song.
Yeah.
There was a point. I don't know, I really wanted to get on this before we got on any play itself about the goats. Something I really liked was the whole point of the goats in actual Norse mythology. Thor would eat them and they'd regrow. And
yes.
Whenever they mentioned Thor eating them, they stopped screaming and just stared at him.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, that is a great.
Because
they knew what the story.
Yeah, in the original mythology, he would slaughter the goats at night and cook them and eat them, but he would warn everybody not to damage the bones or the skin. And but one
damage the skin, but
let him, but he would butcher him and stuff, and then not do anything with the skin or the bones. And then, but a human was with him at one point on a quest, and he scratched one of the bones to suck out the sweet marrow in the bone. And then, at the morning, he would stack up the bones and the skin and hit them with Mjolnir, and the goats would be fully formed in the impact zone. But the one time that they scratched the bone, the goat was lame because of it.
Yeah, he had a hurt leg from
but that was the original myth.
Yeah.
Right.
And they do, and in the comics, they have a similar thing. They do a similar thing. And in the movie, though, they just made a joke to it, a nod. And there's the only time where the goats, like stop their screaming to be like, what? Because he's like, if they ain't enough useful,
and it was kind of,
before we moved on, I really wanted to just make that point. It was
like, and it's one of my favorite Thor myths. Actually, I love that myth.
Yeah.
Because
there was something I wanted to bring up about some of the conclusions of this movie. In some ways, Gore was right, but in some ways he was not right, because at least
a lot of the gods did not care about their followers.
So gods are Gore. A lot of Gore's big point was that none of the gods were worthy of worship. There's no such thing as afterlives. It's all just a big lie. And
the god
within the Marvel universe, that's not entirely true. It would his statements were true for his god because his god didn't give a shit.
Oh no, his god was an asshole.
Yeah, his god was an asshole and did not give an afterlife. But we see in the post-credit scene there is a Valhalla, and we see Heimdall and we see Jane Foster in Valhalla. So at least in the Nordic culture, at least under Thor's watch, there is an afterlife, and they do fulfill their promise of.
If they're maintaining if they're maintaining the honest comic rules that was set in that story, gods are a conduit for human souls to achieve an afterlife, and if no gods exist for a pantheon of people who believe in them, then their souls have nowhere to go, and it can be collected by just anybody.
Right.
The whole point of like preventing Mephisto from gaining all the souls,
Right.
or like Satanish, or all of these people, was gods gave all of these communities on all of these planets a position to move on to an afterlife. So
Yeah, the
that
gods are very present in the mythology of Marvel.
Yeah.
they're super necessary,
Yeah.
even if they're not the strongest. But like with Gore's god, it's very strange because I'm not sure if Marvel is keeping to that, because Gore's god didn't offer an afterlife, and that was never something that was established in the comics. If they made a specific point for that, then I have to believe that that is an important point in the future of these movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Why didn't that god have an afterlife? Why are afterlives being like represented more? The Egyptian afterlife is now represented. The Wakandan afterlife is now being represented, especially with Black Panther 2. And we've got, obviously Thor's like the Valhalla is now being represented. Why are these afterlives all of a sudden, even though Wakanda was the very first one to confirm one, being represented now? Like
Yeah.
right now, like why are they doing that? And like that's kind of like I believe an important point in the future.
And
I think so too.
a big part of that is they're moving more of the mystical side of Marvel into the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
And-
I know
and
early
that-
on they were scared of introducing these concepts because they were afraid that moviegoers weren't going to be ready for something so fantastical.
Yeah.
Kind of gradually introducing some of these higher level concepts.
Right.
I'm glad
Which
they
is-
are, 'cause-
Which is why when Thor was first introduced, they totally focused on him being an alien worshipped as a god. But now we're actually realizing that he's a god who also happens to be an alien.
yeah. Well, I think that
Well, he just exists in an extra dimensional plane.
Right.
But it's clear from the mythology that we're getting that they didn't always exist in Asgard. That they started out as a human god, because all of these other planes that they've chosen to also protect
Right.
are second thoughts. The oldest being, like they are the only race that looks like humans, and these races, I mean, that's always not necessarily true, but the general thought is the gods look like the race that they're representing.
Right.
Generally.
Yeah. And the gods have become very important in Marvel.
well,
So-
the Egyptian gods don't really look like people. They just take on avatars.
Well,
and that's something else.
They take on avatars.
Well, that's not. Hold on. That's actually the point I was bringing up. Was even in Marvel Comics, the gods left the plane because they were no longer being worshipped, so they went to an extra dimensional plane, like Asgardians did.
Yeah.
They just left some avatars behind to kind of keep a touch.
Like Asgardians decided to be hands-on, and these gods decided
to work through avatars.
They didn't have to deal with them.
Right.
And so that's kind of like the point is like we have these instances of like these gods just abandoning humanity, and in some small ways, Thor is the only god in all of the pantheons who hasn't abandoned humanity.
Yeah. The Greeks, in fact, have gone so far as to just retreat to the Eternal City.
If you count Moon Knight, because
Yeah.
he's the protector of travelers.
Yeah.
Like I guess two gods care about
Yeah.
humanity.
Yeah.
So something. Oh, and Bast. So 3.
Yeah, because Bast is the patron goddess of Wakanda. Yeah. Yeah.
Black Panther should be considered the avatar of Bast.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, because Bast, although she's an Egyptian god, is the patron goddess of Wakanda.
For a short time, a whole bunch of children and Jane Foster were an avatar of Thor.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I also love how they did the shatter effect on Mjolnir and having her do the shatter attack.
That was so cool.
That was great.
Shotgun Mjolnir is great.
Yeah, the Mjolnir shard swarm. That was awesome. I was
Something.
I was not expecting it, and then it happened. I was like, damn. That was like cool.
I like it when they do new things.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
There was this one line. There was this one line when they were in omnipotent city, where Thor's talking about like some of the other gods there. Where Thor mentions how there's even a god here that's a carpenter, and some have speculated that's a reference to Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And then they had the god of dumplings. It was great.
Yeah.
The god of dumplings was so cool.
I mean, there's something that I don't know how controversial you guys are on this podcast, but DC and Marvel both have confirmed a Jesus in their pantheon, even though not like super active. And it just makes me wonder, since all the gods seem to be at least a little bit possess combat power, who do you think would win in a fight? DC Jesus or Marvel Jesus?
I have no idea. Probably DC Jesus.
Probably because they're OP. They're OP and darker.
Yeah.
DC tends to be darker and more OP. So yeah, it would be.
DC characters tend to be more powerful, but Marvel characters tend to be more fatal.
But DC heroes also tend to have one special fatal flaw, and Marvel's don't necessarily. Because they're not as powerful.
Is he a demigod in Marvel now, or would it be considered an avatar of the Christian God?
He would be, well, since he's supposed to be the son of, I would call him a demigod.
Questions that are now being brought up.
Yeah.
Because of,
I think he'd be a demigod like Hercules.
Yeah. Jesus would be a demigod. An avatar for the Christian God would be someone like Moses, who spoke with a voice. But yeah, Moses would be an avatar, but Christ himself would be God's Hercules. He would be God's son, half human.
Bread and butter in Marvel Comics is asking these questions.
We ask the tough questions around here, folks.
Lurch will tell you, my favorite thing is pantheons and like cosmic.
Oh, I love I'm a mythologist way back. Mythology is one of my favorite things. When I was in high school, the Greek pantheon was what I worshipped. I love the Greeks. I mean, I have mad respect for the Celtics and the Egyptians, and I am Celtic shaman now as my own particular spirituality. I believe in the Celtic way of things in a very shamanic view. But I love pantheons. I believe, first of all, looking at the world today, the only way a world can be as messed up as it is now is if it's done by committee. So you have to have multiple gods. Because
Isn't that a Robin Williams bit?
It's a couple of comedians have pointed it out.
Oh, yeah.
But it takes a committee to screw up this badly.
It might be a bit that was put together by a committee of comedians.
It may have, because I think more than one comedian has used that observation, but it's one of my favorites because it's so true. Looking at the world, monarchies, for all the negatives you can say about a single ruler type government system, they don't make some of the mistakes that this would make. A monarchy will just kill off the dissidents. They just kill off the dissidents. Oh, you don't believe in God? Kill it. But a pantheon, when you got to vote on everything, and you got people working their own agendas and stuff. That's when you get humanity. Humanity is very much the product of a committee.
Anyway, yeah, I'm really looking forward to what the next appearance of Thor is going to be with that girl. Which, did you guys know that girl playing as Gor's daughter is Chris Hemsworth's real life daughter?
Yes.
That's
yes.
Amazing. I actually did not know that.
Yeah, that's Hemsworth's actual daughter.
I didn't know it when I watched it, but I learned about it afterwards.
Yeah, I learned about it afterwards too.
Why they called her Love, because she seemed like a brat to me. Like, I didn't see a lot of love between them, but I guess some time had passed. I don't know. But Yeah, she is a uniquely Marvel Comics character, and I feel like this is like a touching point where they're starting to divert a lot from the canon Marvel lore, or at least what we're familiar with the canon.
Yeah, the MCU is getting so complex in the way they're making it unique.
Unless she's just the physical manifestation of what the God Bomb was supposed to be. Which,
Hmm.
in case for people who don't know, the God Bomb was supposed to be a theoretical bomb. In the comics, they call it the theoretical bomb that destroys entities like that share that kind of like role, like hierarchy that gods share, which is interesting because
It's one of the few things that could possibly kill a
Thanos,
god.
I mean, Thanos might be because he was a Titan, considered a god.
He's Titan is related to the gods. Titans are related to the gods, but
But
Thanos is not.
Thanos is actually a what you call it that made the Eternals. He's
yeah. So, but even in the Marvel comics, not necessarily the movies,
yeah.
he would be very loosely connected to gods, even if he was.
Yeah,
So
but
I'm like he's still on that
but
tier.
so are the Eternals. The Eternals are loosely connected to and even worshipped as gods in human mythology. I mean,
right? Like that's kind of like my point. Is like, would a god bomb affect
an Eternal? Yeah, because remember, Thanos is an Eternal with a deviant-like body, and possibly scroll related. And he's scroll related.
Well, scrolls are deviants technically.
Yeah.
But not all deviants are the same kind of thing, so he wouldn't necessarily be scroll related. But the reason why he looks different, aside from the deviant gene, is he's also a mutant.
Right. He's a mutant Eternal. He's a mutant Eternal. Yeah. And of course, as we know from the Eternals movie, and of course us being comic nerds anyway, we know that the Eternals, many of them were worshipped as gods in ancient Earth anyway. Like Mercari was Mercury, and
so I was gonna say, at least in the comics, the primary definition, what defined them as Titans, was where they lived, because they were among the gods of long ago, but then a sect of them left where the gods were and moved to Titan and became the Titans.
Well, yeah, and then in Greek mythology, of course.
Not in Greek mythology, but just in the Marvel comics.
Right. But Marvel does some reflecting, like we were saying before. And in Greek mythology, the Titans were the progenitors of the gods.
Yeah.
So where in a lot of ways it's like a demigod is like Hercules and Jesus and Odysseus. And then a god is Thor and Zeus and everything. And then a Titan is like Ao and Gaia and those kind of things. Is the hierarchy of gods. The over gods are what they call Titans, and they're the ones that generate the gods, and then the gods generate the demigods. And
generally speaking, at least based on Jim Starlin's writing, the Titans were basically the gods that left Earth and moved to Titan, like Eos and a few others.
They were the over gods that came before, and they left the younger gods to take over.
I mean, it's obvious that Marvel movies are going in a different direction,
right?
And making entities like Thanos and all of the other Eternals as just really complicated
foot soldiers, yeah, robots, pre-programmed biological robots.
Which is interesting because that kind of like means that that's what Thanos had always been.
Right.
Yeah, I'm curious about what that means about what Thanos is, because he's a descendant.
Well, like I said,
Eternal.
He's an Eternal, a Deviant, and a Mutant, so he's got a lot of shit going on.
And he grew up in the world of Titan, in the moon of Titan.
Yeah, so we don't know, but we're after 10 o'clock. I think we've covered much of Thor, although we could probably wax poetic for about 6 more hours. We love this movie. I love this movie. I know you guys
Yeah.
did too.
It was a
Yeah.
yeah, it was a good movie.
I will honestly say it's the best Thor movie I've seen of all the Thor movies.
I would probably say that Thor Ragnarok is still my favorite Thor movie.
I like Ragnarok. I like this better.
I need to watch it more. I'm
I-
gonna have a bias though because of
I-
Natalie Portman, buff Natalie Portman, but
At least you're honest.
I feel like can I give like a very small review?
yeah,
Sure.
I feel like the difference between Thor: Love and Thunder and Thor Ragnarok was Thor Ragnarok true had a lot of moving pieces, but all those moving pieces connected thematically at the end. I do not believe that was the case with Thor: Love and Thunder. Even though Thor: Love and Thunder is an excellent movie, really well crafted, hilarious all the way through. Weirdly, I don't know how you can carry such a dark tone and keep it humorous, but Taika Waititi has a tendency of being able to do that.
That's the thing. That's
I feel like that's all. I feel like that's where it ends. Like, right? I feel like that's where it fails. Is that it didn't tie everything together. There was not a single theme, like one whole single theme that tied everything together and made it feel good
cohesive.
as you did
Cohesive.
with Thor Ragnarok. Yeah, it didn't feel that way. It is an amazing movie. I still
See,
feel like
and
like Ragnarok barely ekes ahead.
I put the Love and Thunder ahead not because of the cohesion, but because of their balance of humor and seriousness.
yeah.
It was like the
No.
perfect knife's edge balance. It was
Now,
great.
How about this? Of the Phase 4 movies, which is your favorite Phase 4 movie overall, or how does it rank among them?
Doctor Strange 2.
Doctor Strange
And
too.
then it is Thor: Love and Thunder. Doctor Strange 2 is a lot higher, and I will say there's not only a bias because it deals with cosmic entities. The Incursion event, which is one of my favorite events in Marvel Comics, it also it also adds a lot of like lore. We had a zombie Doctor Strange, and we dealt with a lot of the different universes' Darkholds all being destroyed all at
Yeah.
once.
I gotta put
There's a lot of cosmic and divine issues that ended there, and I feel like that's what keeps it up higher. Thor: Love and Thunder did not answer a lot of cosmic questions I was asking.
in Phase 4. I would put Doctor Strange at the top by a mile. I mean, it's so far above everything else. Then almost equal, I would put Love and Thunder and No Way Home. Because No Way Home and Love and Thunder were both phenomenal
Yeah,
movies, but different.
I
Yeah.
would say Love and Thunder and No Way Home were
Right about on par.
Now that you brought No Way Home into it, I do think No Way Home was just slightly better than the Love and Thunder.
It's either slightly better or right on par with, because they're neck and neck kind of.
I would put Thor: Love and Thunder and No Way Home together as like number 2.
Yes,
it's really
that's what I say.
But Doctor Strange is 100% the best.
Oh,
movie
absolutely.
to come out in Phase 4.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with that. And then
Uh,
for third place, really, I don't know. What would be third place in Phase 4?
We got Black Widow and what other movies have we had for Phase 4?
That are really Phase 4
the
movies.
We had the Eternals.
Oh, yeah.
The Eternals was although
Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings.
Shang-Chi, I could call it the third maybe. Underneath
Good.
underneath No Way Home and Love and Thunder. Yeah, I'd probably put Shang-Chi next. Because Shang-Chi was just
Yeah, I would too,
amazing.
because, like, it was batshit crazy.
But it was amazing.
Mythology. Yeah,
But it
I think my rankings is Doctor Strange 2 at the top, so we're all in agreement on that. I think my number 2 might be Shang-Chi. And then my number 3, I think, would be Thor Ragnarok. And then Spider-Man No Way Home.
is number 4.
So, is number 4. And the reason why, part of why I put Thor above Spider-Man No Way Home, Spider-Man No Way Home hit the mark really heavy with fan service so well. It's the best fan service I think I've ever seen in a movie. But it's just as general plotting isn't quite as solid as some of the other movies, and so I think that puts it just a little bit.
But the thing that elevates No Way Home is one, they really hit home with the multiversal concepts by bringing in the other Spider-Man universes. Yeah. That was a huge add.
If we don't take the after credit scenes, yes.
Yeah, because it did that. Now I'm a little disappointed that they didn't bring Venom in at all. I would have liked a little bit of Venom in the actual mainline story.
Yeah.
But otherwise, No Way Home is almost perfect.
I'm personally glad they didn't, because that would have been a lot they had to have taken care of, and we've seen what
would have liked to have seen him.
Has to juggle so many villains.
I would have just liked to have seen him. He wouldn't have even had to have done more than looked and said Spider-Man. And
then Eternals just after that. So it's Eternals just after
No Way Home.
No Way Home. And then Black Widow after that. And I don't even count Morbius in the fourth phase.
Oh no. In fact, if you're going to count the other Spider-Man verse movies, you'd have to put in before Morbius, Venom, Let There Be Carnage, and Into the Spider-Verse, because they're better by far.
Morbius is bottom rung.
It's the bottom of the bottom. Yeah, Morbius is down there with Shaq as Steel. I mean, it's just not great.
So Morbius is a movie I had fun watching, but then after spending a little bit of time thinking it over, it didn't make any fucking sense.
Morbius is in that.
I had issues from as we were leaving the theater, and I was talking to Lurch about him, and Lurch was like, "I'll have to look it up again, or I'm gonna have to watch it again to see if that's true or something like that." And I feel like you did, and you were like, "Oh yeah, no, these."
It was so underutilized, and like we were saying before you came in, Morbius would have benefited from a backdoor mention in another movie first,
It still wouldn't have made it a good movie.
But it would have benefited.
It would have put more butts in seats, but it would not have benefited the quality of the movie.
Well, they might have changed some of the writing, because.
Did you guys ever talk about It's Morbin Time?
It's Morphin Time? No.
Yeah, okay, so there was a meme that went on that was making fun of Morbius, but Sony didn't get the hint. They thought it was real. People were putting Morbius faces on Power Rangers and saying it's Morbin Time. So they misread the situation, put the movie in theaters again for one weekend, thinking people wanted to watch it, and no one showed up, making them waste hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, it got I think $40,000 in ticket sales, which did not cover the cost of putting it back in the theaters.
Yeah. No, Morbius was a great disappointment.
I feel like that's the best prank pulled on a movie studio ever.
Oh my god, it was so sad.
But that
their films division doesn't get it,
Yeah. Well, it was.
Dude, no. I've seen so many It's Morbin Time things that I'm starting to get some of that. What's that effect where you start to question reality?
Yeah.
Where I'm starting to question myself. Was that line in the movie?
Yeah. I know what that was. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I honestly I lump it down with the kind of things that we got with superhero movies like Shaq as Steel and what were other bad ones? The made-for-TV Captain America, the made-for-TV stuff. Those are the kind of things. That's the kind. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for what it was. But.
Or the Doctor Strange movie from 1978.
We
watched that first time together, didn't we?
what you call it, the Nick Fury movie with Hasselhoff as Nick Fury. You know, that I put it in that category of movies. It's, in fact, sometimes it's so bad it's good because it's terrible. You know.
Angel and I specifically said at some point when he and I were chatting about it that it feels very 1991.
Yeah.
Just with modern computer-generated graphics.
Yeah.
1991 writing for a superhero film, right?
Yeah, it's a superhero film that's not worthy of the era that it's produced in, because in this era they got to give you more. It's kind of like the movie version of Naomi. How Naomi just didn't give you that superhero feel, which is why you didn't watch it, because you just couldn't keep watching it. You didn't feel like you were watching a superhero movie.
Yeah.
So the Blade movies that had Chthon and the Darkhold in it. I'm wondering if that version of the Darkhold also got ghosted.
I don't know. I do love the Blade movies, although Trinity got panned by a lot of people. I even like Trinity.
Yeah, there's the House of Chthon. It was a movie, but they turned it into episodes for television. That dealt with the Darkhold and stuff, and I'm just like, I'm thinking.
Oh wait, so was the Darkhold not in the movies? It was in the show that.
It was the FX Blade TV series.
The House of Chthon. Yeah, Chthon being the demon that created the Darkhold in the first place.
Well, yeah, and Chthon is one of the elder gods from
I'm gonna have to assume
Cthulhu mythos
I'm gonna
too.
assume that Darkhold got destroyed after Multiverse of Madness.
That's gonna save Wesley Snipes' Blade like some heartbreak. Like seriously, that's gonna make him be like, oh, thank God, that's over.
I mean, in a lot of ways, Blade.
Hopefully, in the last 20 years, he's resolved that problem.
Blade, the first Blade movie, in a lot of ways, was one of the movies that really brought in the new superhero era. It was one of the. It was one of them.
Yeah, a lot of people say that, but people didn't even consider it a superhero movie, so that couldn't have possibly been the case.
Well,
Most people didn't even
just because people didn't consider it didn't mean it didn't. Because those who did know,
it was the first successful Marvel movie
for a while there. Yeah.
That's true, but people can consider X-Men or Spider-Man as the actual people who took legitimate costume-wearing heroes.
Yeah,
into
I'm not arguing that. I'm not arguing that's what started the superhero thing. I'm just saying it's the first successful Marvel movie. So
it's one of them.
At least that.
It is one of them that did start it. I'm not saying that it is solely responsible, but without that movie, they might not have taken as many chances with things like Spider-Man and the X-Men. And the directors of Spider-Man and the directors of X-Men actually have said that without Blade, they may not have even tried.
Anyway,
So they were inspired by it.
yeah, I mean, if we just start the conversation about who was inspired by what, this is going to be an endless conversation going back to 3,000 years ago.
That's very true. And we're already over in time, and
Yeah.
we could talk forever. I mean, I just got out of the hospital. You just got
had this exact conversation in the past, and it was like an hour-long conversation where we eventually just stopped. It was like, we have to stop because we're like, this movie is inspired by this movie, but this one was inspired by this movie,
and then we're going to start going around in circles.
yeah,
And
it became
and-
a circle jerk of inspirations.
and all of us have had a really rough week. I know Lurch was at urgent care in Cox South all day today. I've been at Cox South for a week now. I just got home today because I had surgery and everything. I went in with a bursted blood blister on my foot and ended up having surgery. So
oh, that sucks. But
yeah, I had to have an angiogram. So.
yeah.
I'm okay with looking past it, personally.
But so let's go ahead and end it for this week. Next week we will be back to like some of our normal fare. We don't have a whole lot to go over next week, unfortunately. So we'll probably be focusing more on our regular type of stuff, video game releases, stuff that we didn't cover from San Diego Comic-Con. As more and more of their stuff comes out on YouTube, we can start covering it a little bit more. So that might be more of a focus next week, is trying to cover the stuff that finally gets released out to YouTube for everybody.
Hopefully, yeah.
Because there's a lot of previews that were exclusive to Comic-Con that people who didn't go to Comic-Con have only seen leaked footage. And so
I appreciate so much you guys letting me come on again. I love sitting here and talking.
Oh, we love it. We love you as a guest, Angel. And anytime we have a major release of a movie, we know that you're one of the people we can count on to make the conversation diverse and interesting and informative, because you're not just some movie watcher that goes in and doesn't know anything about the backstories. You know Marvel Comics, and you know Kaiju, and we bring you in for movies you know about. And so you're really additive to the story. And I think that people who watch our shows appreciate that. And we appreciate it, because we don't want just a yes man to come in and agree with us, or just disagree with us, or just give their own impressions.
Angel won't always agree with me.
We want somebody who's informed.
An argument for like an hour the other day about dwarves with beards, and we're not even going to start talking about it. That's just the subject.
Oh yeah, and so
I'm ready to call it a night.
You're going to call it a night. We'll cover some more of San Diego Comic-Con next week. We will definitely thank Angel for being here, and we're going to invite him back again. Don't worry. I mean, we would probably have him here every week if we could, but if we could, but we don't. We don't cover as much stuff that you would want to talk about every week. But when we do have the stuff that we know you'll come in on, you're always welcome. In fact,
I appreciate that so much.
Absolutely.
This is always really fun.
Yeah, it's just a great time. Yep, have a good time. Thank you so much. We'll catch you next time, Angel. Enjoy your D&D game. Enjoy your D&D game too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Oh yeah, love Angel. Angel is our favorite guest. It's got to be.
We might just have to talk to him about making him a regular.
Well, I think, like he said, he doesn't watch a lot of the other stuff we do, but Angel is perfect for coming in on movies and some video games.
Yeah,
I think.
I mean, he does a lot of video games and stuff like that, so he might like to join in on.
Right, so he could probably come in with you on video game talk more than me.
Yeah.
But
anyway.
I definitely want to keep inviting him for big Marvel and DC releases, if nothing else, because and when the D&D movie comes out, which is on my birthday next year, March 3rd. March 3rd is a very popular day for movie releases. The Watchmen came out on March 3rd too. Batman came out on March 3rd. A lot of things come out on March 3rd. It's great. But yeah, so when the D&D movie comes out, I think Angel will be a good person to come in again. Any Marvel and DC releases, Black Adam, they're already working on a sequel to Godzilla vs. King Kong, so he would be the great person to come in for that sequel. If they do a reboot of the Power Rangers movie, he would be a good person to come in on that. There are so many things that he specifically would be great to come in on movie-wise.
So, yeah, I'm needing to wrap up, so...
Yeah. We will catch everybody next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Remember, keep it in character. May the dice gods love you, the fumble gods hate you, and may your movie tickets be worth the ticket price. And in the words of the immortal Stanley, Excelsior! Goodbye. Good night, everybody.
Night.